All right, let's get right into it. We're looking at the critical situation unfolding in Iran right now. As of January 16th, 2026, massive nationwide protests are being met with an incredibly swift and severe government response. We're going to break down exactly what's happening on the ground.
You know, to really grasp the gravity of this moment, we have to start with the human cost. And the numbers we're seeing, well, they're just staggering. Sources like Iran International are estimating that at least 12,000 people have been killed in this crackdown. I mean, this isn't just a protest anymore. People are describing it as a massacre, one that's being carried out under the cover of an almost total information blackout.
And behind that huge number are thousands of individual stories, and this desperate plea for the world not to look away. This message here, it came from a witness in the city of Aznah, just moments before their internet was cut off. It just captures this profound fear that these events and all the people being lost might just be buried in silence.
So, the big question is, how is a crackdown on this scale even being executed? Well, the regime is using a two-pronged approach. Brutal physical force on the streets, combined with a major effort to create complete digital silence.
The first step is to just completely sever Iran's connection to the outside world. Sources on the ground have actually started calling this digital terrorism. It means shutting down media outlets, crippling communications, and cutting off internet access to stop any evidence of the state's actions from getting out.
And this is fascinating. We can actually see the blackout happening in the data. What you're looking at is the flow of modern internet traffic, specifically something called HTTP/3 on Iran's major networks. Just look at that drop. It plummets from nearly 40% of requests all the way down to just 5%. That right there is the clear technical fingerprint of a sophisticated and severe shutdown.
This has pretty much ignited a full-blown information war. On one side, you have the regime literally seizing satellite dishes and silencing hundreds of newspapers. But on the other, you've got protesters fighting back with smuggled Starlink terminals, which activists report are now being offered for free. It's providing a vital lifeline to get videos, photos, and eyewitness accounts out to the world.
But it's so important to look beyond the data and remember the individuals at the heart of all this. So in this next section, we're going to hear just a few of the thousands of personal stories that are starting to emerge.
This is Reza Pahlavi. He was just 17. His family was in a tough financial spot, so he'd actually left school to become an apprentice and help support them. He was shot twice during a protest, once in the head. His mother was only allowed to see him one single time in the hospital before he died.
Or take Shayan Asadollahi. He was a 28-year-old barber. After his father passed away, he became the only person providing for his family. A relative reported that he was shot and killed by Revolutionary Guards with military-grade weapons as he was simply walking home from a demonstration.
And this next one really illustrates the immense pressure families are under. Sajjad Pochahan was 25 when he was killed. Now, in order for his father to get his son's body back for a proper burial, he was forced to go on state television and condemn the very rioters that his son had stood alongside.
So what pushed so many people into the streets? I mean, while the grievances are deeply political, the immediate catalyst is a devastating economic meltdown that has just shattered the lives of ordinary Iranians.
The numbers here really speak for themselves. The national currency, the rial, has effectively collapsed. As you can see, the exchange rate against the US dollar has literally doubled in just over a year. At the same time, official annual inflation has soared past 52%, which just wipes out people's savings and turns basic survival into a daily battle. And for the average person, this crisis is felt most when they go to the market. This chart is really telling. While overall inflation is 52%, the cost of food is rising even faster. Food inflation is at 58%, and the price of something as basic as fruit has jumped by 75%. The cost of bread has nearly doubled. It's just unsustainable.
Okay, so as the crisis deepens and the death toll keeps rising, the international community has started to respond. And this is creating another layer of pressure on the Iranian regime through a mix of sanctions, diplomacy, and condemnation.
The response is coming from multiple angles. The United States has imposed new sanctions targeting senior officials in the regime's financial networks. The European Union is preparing its own sanctions package. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting, with the Secretary General calling for de-escalation. But all the while, Russia is providing diplomatic cover for Tehran, blaming the whole thing on foreign interference, as other countries like India begin to evacuate their citizens.
So, in the face of this unprecedented popular uprising and all this escalating international pressure, what's the official message coming from the government in Tehran?
While the regime's message is one of pure defiance. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi delivered this really stark warning, framing the crisis not as an internal uprising, but as a confrontation with outside powers. It's a message that also leaves the door just slightly ajar for negotiations, but only on Tehran's terms. Internally, the government is completely denying the grassroots nature of the uprising. The narrative they're broadcasting on state media is that the protests are the work of terrorist elements and foreign enemies, and that despite all evidence to the contrary, the situation is completely under control. So this is where things stand today, with Iran at a real turning point. You have nationwide protests being met with extreme violence, a digital iron curtain that's being challenged by satellite technology, the economic freefall that sparked the anger shows no signs of stopping, the world is increasing pressure through sanctions, and at the center of it all is a regime that remains utterly defiant.